Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to show you how to back up your data, because the other videos that I have I say you should back up your data before you continue. I figured I would make a video showing you how to do that today. So I have a little bit of a different setup here. I changed the camera that I'm using so it has more of a view of what we're doing here. So you can see more of the Great American Flag, and you can also see my computer setup here. So I'll go into more details about my computer setup at the end. Okay, so let's get started. So right now we have a Windows virtual machine going. But if you don't have a virtual machine, that's fine too, because it's the same scenario as long as you have Windows installed. So I'm going to show you on Windows. So there's quite a few ways to back up your data. They have these guys here, which many people are familiar with, the USB flash drives. They also have USB external hard drives, they're about the size of an audio cassette, and it has a single USB cable. And then they have these kind, which are bigger. They're desktop size external hard drives. And these are probably about the size of a video cassette. And they do require not only a USB connection, but they also require an external power connection too. So these are more difficult to plug in and get working. One extra wire you have to plug in. But for simplicity reasons, although I don't recommend using one of these guys as your primary backup, I'm going to show you in this video because the concept is the same. So, if you're not familiar with the USB port, which most people are, they only plug in one direction, so it doesn't really require any insane computer skills. It's just a matter of using what you learned in kindergarten. Wherever it fits on the computer, plug it in as long as you don't have to force it or break anything. And it only goes in one way. So when you plug it in on your computer, you're going to get a message that pops up in the bottom right corner here. So because I'm using a virtual machine, I have to tell the machine to send the USB device to the virtual machine. But if you're using Windows on the real hardware, like most of you are, this is not going to be a step that you have to do. So let's get that connected. So when you plug in your device, it's going to either pop up a window like this, or it may show you a message on the bottom corner here that says you plugged in a new external device. So if neither of that happens, I'll show you how to get to it. So we're going to go into this PC, which is right here. If it's not on your desktop, the other way to get to it would be to click on the folder icon at the bottom, Windows Explorer. And then you can click on this PC on the right side. On the left side. And then on the right side you'll see your internal hard drive, which is drive C. And then you'll see your USB hard drive that you plugged in. So as you can see, the USB drive is blank. So there's quite a few ways to back up your files. The first method would be to right-click the file that you want to back up, go to Send To, and then USB drive E. Now if you're using Linux, it may not say Send To, it might say Copy To or Move To. I would do Copy To because it still leaves it on your computer in case something goes wrong with the backup. The other method would be to open up the USB hard drive in its own window, and you can click and hold the mouse button down and drag it onto the flash drive, and then when you let go, it'll start the copy process. And the third method, which is my favorite method, I like to right click on the file and go to the word copy, or if you're using the keyboard you can do Control C, which is the same thing as long as you have the file selected. But I'm going to show you the mouse method since most people are familiar with that. So you go to copy, and then you right click in an empty area on your USB drive, and that brings up the menu, and you go to paste, and that'll start the data transfer. So before I transfer it, I'm going to show you how big this file is. So it's a little under 2 gigs, so it shouldn't take that long to transfer. And the nice way about this method is I can open up the file and I can see if it plays. Hello, which in this case it does. So today we're going to talk about installing Although it's a little jumpy because it's on the virtual machine. So anyway, the point is the file plays. So now I'm going to right click on this, on the file, go to copy, and then I'll right click on the flash drive and go to paste. So now you're going to see the file transfer window pop up here. So this is the more detailed version. You may actually see this version, which is a simple one. It doesn't tell you anything, but I like to see the details, so I always click on the more details, and it gives you how much data is remaining, how long it's going to take. By the way, I never trust this because it's usually wrong. So we're just going to wait for that to transfer. And it's a good idea to do this on a regular basis anyway, because you don't want to have all your stuff on one drive, and if that drive goes bad, you have to either go through data recovery, and that's not always 100% successful. So if you have important data, you can't afford to lose it, and I would invest in a USB external hard drive. They're usually around $80 for a terabyte, and they're not that terribly expensive considering the amount of work that you put into all your data on the computer. So I'd get one of those and then just do what I showed you in this video every once in a while, just to back it up. And you want to do your best to avoid using any pre-installed backup software, because when you use the backup software, all the files on the one hard drive, they put them into a single file on the other drive, and it's usually a backup file, and all the individual files are packed into that file. And what happens is, when you have your backup, you can't open that file and see your data. You have to do a restore function, which is another process that involves installing a program on the computer in order to get the data out of that file and put it back into readable data. So you're relying on a backup software to do that. However, in this method, you're not relying on anything other than the ability to copy and paste. So now you'll see that this file is now on the flash drive. And here's where I was telling you, you can open up this file right on the USB drive. And here it is. Installing Linux. You can right click on it, go to properties, you can see the file size, and you can do the same with this one, the original. Put them side by side, you can compare the file sizes, make sure that the backup's successful. Another thing you can do is simply open the file up and see if it works. Hello everyone. So today and it looks like it works fine. Installing Linux. A lot of games available. Yep, okay, so that file plays. You probably heard me talking in that file as well, because that's our installing Linux video, which you can find. Find that in my channel. So that's it. That's how you would back up a file. Now, if you wanted to back up your whole computer, this is a whole other method to do that. So I'm going to show you that now. But I'm not actually going to do the backup because you already know how to do it. This one takes a lot longer because it's backing up all the things on the computer as opposed to one file. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to this PC, and we're going to open up the C drive, which is your internal hard drive. You're going to have a couple folders here. The Windows folder and the program files you're going to ignore. the prefetch log, you're not going to even bother with that. So the one that we're interested in is the one called users. So you open up the user folder. You have a public folder, and this particular folder that says user is actually the username that you log in with your computer. I just happen to type in user as my username, that's why it says user. So I'm going to open that up. Inside we have all the different items here. We have the desktop folder, documents folder, downloads, pictures, videos. Whatever you normally do on a computer that ends up in your user folder is all right here. Like for example, if I open up the desktop folder, there is the same folder that's right here. So these are where you find the icons on your desktop. So anyway, there's a couple ways you can do that. One method is to select all the files, and you can right click, go to copy, and then go back to your flash drive and right click and paste. Or you can go right click on your username in the users folder, and you can go to copy, and then you can just go right here on the left side, you'll see your flash drive, or you can go to this PC and go to the flash drive that way, and you just right click and paste, and it would basically do the same method as we did before. So going back to the C drive here in the users folder, they also have a public folder as well. The only thing that I know that could be in a public folder is if you use a program called QuickBooks. QuickBooks likes to save all their data into the public documents folder, and you'll see a folder called Into It. And if you use QuickBooks, I'd recommend checking there before you plan on doing anything further with your computer. And if you wanted to, you can back up the entire public folder as well. That's not a problem. You can just right click the user, highlight both of them and right click, go to copy, and then go to the flash drive and right click and paste. And that's how you would back up your data. So anyway, now that you know how to safely back up your data, you can go ahead and do that, and you can practice, make sure it works. You can even take this flash drive out of your computer and plug it into a different computer to make sure that you can see those files on a different computer, if you want to go as far as to do that. If it's your first time doing it, I would recommend it, but if you have experience copying and pasting before and you're certain, then it's on you. But you got to make sure you back up all your data, unless you don't need it, of course. So now here's the final step that you need to do, because we do have this flash drive still connected to our computer, and there's a couple ways to unplug it. The wrong way is to just pull it out of the computer without telling the computer that you're going to unplug it, because each drive does have what's called a cache. When you copy files to the drive, it loads it into cache first before it gets written to the storage device, whether it be a solid state drive or a mechanical drive with a disk. So either way, if we unplug that before that process is done, your backup will be useless because the files will be corrupt. So there's a couple ways to tell your computer you're going to unplug your flash drive. There's a simple way, and then there's a complicated way. So I'm going to show you the complicated way, and I'm going to tell you the simple way because you probably already know how to do it. So the complicated way, you have this little up arrow right by the clock in the bottom. You got to click on that up arrow, and that'll review a icon. It's supposed to look like a USB, but I describe it to people as a thermos because it also looks like a thermos. More people know what a thermos looks like than a USB does, so I tell people to click on this thermos icon here, and then it has it'll have eject USB stick. So when you click on that, you're going to see one of two things. if you see this message here, it says safe to remove hardware, you can then go ahead and pull the drive out and all the data will be fine. So I'm going to put this drive back in, and I'm going to show you the other message. So what I have to do to show you the other message is I have to open up the drive, and I have to, actually let me put the sound on mute here. I have to open up the video, and because I open up the video from the flash drive, it's going to cause an error message because of the flash drive is in use. So this is the other message that you'll see. If you see this message, problem ejecting USB mass storage device, at that point in time you don't want to unplug it. So what you want to do is go and make sure you close out whatever program you're running that could be using the flash drive, whether it's a video or or if you have a Word document open on the flash drive. You always want to make sure that you close all that and save your work before you eject it. Now let's say, because this does happen as well, let's say everything's closed out and you can't figure out why this message still shows up. So here's the easiest method to remove the flash drive. So we're going to click OK, because that, the system's not going to allow the flash drive to be removed. The easiest method, you click the Start button, you click on the power button symbol, and then you hit Shutdown. And then you're going to wait for the computer to shut off. And if this is a real hardware, you want to look at the front of the computer and wait until the actual power light on the front of the tower goes off. Or on the laptop, make sure the power light goes completely off, because sometimes they'll stay on for a minute after the screen goes blank and then shuts off. So once the computer is completely powered off the proper way, that's when you can go and unplug the flash drive, because at this point the computer's off. Whatever data had to be written to the drive is already written, because that's part of the shutdown process. So anyway, that's it. You now know how to back up your data to an external drive. So, and again, if you're using a flash drive, an external hard drive, the method's the same. It's just a different device that you're plugging in. So now I'll explain my computer setup here. So the reason I have this crazy case that looks like a shelving unit here is because I used to mine cryptocurrencies. I did some Bitcoin mining, some Ethereum mining, and what eventually happened is the cost to mine the Ethereum was worth more than the value of the Ethereum that I was getting, and the electric meter was spinning like a top outside. So we were trying to figure out what was causing that, and one day I happened to go unplug my mining computer here, and when all I did was I unplugged it, everything else in the house was the way it was. Then the meter's going real slow, tick, 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 tick. So it was sucking up a lot of juice. So I had to stop doing the mining. So instead of getting a different case, I decided to repurpose this one. I have it set up so I can plug in hard drives and on the top here, and I have cooling fans in the back, which originally, this is where you would put the video cards, and the fans would cool off the video cards, which actually did the mining. So now, and I also have power cables so I can plug an internal drive, such as this Western Digital here, which I personally like to back up to these because they're so common, and there's a lot of donor parts available if I happen to have one go bad and I need to do data recovery, but hopefully we don't have to do that anytime in the near future. So the rest of it, this is another mining case on top, which I just kept as additional shelves. I have my tools and stuff up here, and then I have other parts up here. And then there's a top shelf even, which I didn't fully assemble yet. Maybe I'll clean up this mess over here. But until now, this is what I have, and this is what I'm working with. So anyway, thank you for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments, or if you like the video, like it, share it with your friends. Anybody asks you how to backup data on a computer, you can refer them to the video anyway. It can help me out a lot, and I appreciate any help that I can get. So thank you for watching, and enjoy.